It was a cold December night in 2013 when Ryan, a 28-year-old businessman, boarded the last train from London to Edinburgh. The air at the station was thick with winter mist, and an eerie silence lingered in the atmosphere. Unlike usual, the platform was nearly deserted, the dim yellow lights casting long, distorted shadows. Ryan adjusted the strap of his leather bag and checked his ticket, A1, seat 23. He had taken this route several times before, but something about this night felt off. He couldn't explain it, but an unsettling feeling curled in his chest. As he stepped onto the train, the air inside felt heavy, still, unwelcoming. The compartment was nearly empty, except for an old man sitting in the far corner and a woman 2 rows ahead. Both sat in silence, their gazes fixed elsewhere. The train shuddered as it slowly pulled away from the station, disappearing into the consuming darkness beyond. Ryan settled into his seat by the window, watching as the city lights faded, replaced by the vast emptiness of the countryside. Outside there was nothing, just an endless stretch of blackness, the occasional silhouette of trees flashing past. The rhythmic clatter of the wheels against the tracks filled the silence. It should have been comforting. It wasn't. At some point, Ryan must have dozed off. His head rested against the cold glass, his breath fogging up the window. Then, knock. A soft, deliberate tap against the window. Ryan stirred. His eyes fluttered open, mind still sluggish from sleep. Knock, knock. It came again. His sleepy mind struggled to process. He was sitting by the window. Outside was nothing but speeding darkness. His heart pounded. Slowly, hesitantly, he turned, his head toward the glass. A face stared back at him. His breath caught in his throat. His body went rigid. It was a man, but something was wrong. His face was pale, almost gray, his eyes sunken, deep black hollows that swallowed all light. His mouth stretched into a grin, wide, unnatural, hollow. The skin on his cheeks looked too tight, as if it had been stretched over a skull. And then he blinked. Ryan's body reacted before his mind could. He jerked back, a strangled gasp escaping his lips. His seat creaked beneath him. And just like that, the face was gone. The black window reflected only Ryan's own horrified expression, his breath coming in quick gasps. His fingers dug into the armrest. He turned sharply, looking around the compartment. The old man hadn't moved, his head tilted downward. The woman still sat stiffly in her seat, staring straight ahead. Had they not seen it? Had he imagined it? He squeezed his eyes shut, trying to shake the image from his mind. Just exhaustion, he told himself. Lack of sleep. But then, a whisper. Low, hollow, coming from right beside his ear. Get off the train. Ryan's eyes snapped open. His breath hitched. His heart thundered inside his chest. The voice was right next to him, but when he turned his head, there was no one there. The warning. Get off at the next station. The whisper came again. Closer this time. His skin crawled. It was inside the compartment now. Ryan looked around wildly, searching for the source, but there was nothing. The air had turned frigid, his breath coming out in faint white puffs. Then, the train lights flickered. For a single second, the compartment was swallowed in darkness. And in that moment, he saw them. Figures. Dozens of them. lurking in the aisles, pressed between the seats, their lifeless eyes locked onto him. Then, the lights flickered back on. They were gone. Ryan's pulse slammed in his ears. He could barely breathe. He gripped the seat in front of him, every nerve in his body screaming to get out. The train lurched, slowing as a small station appeared ahead. Ryan didn't hesitate. He grabbed his bag, his hands shaking violently, and stumbled toward the door. As soon as the train stopped, he jumped out, landing hard onto the empty platform. And then, the doors slammed shut behind him. He turned, panting, watching as the train pulled away. His stomach twisted into an iron knot, because through the window of his compartment, the figures were still there, standing, watching him. A hand landed on his shoulder. Ryan nearly screamed as he spun around. Coming face to face with the station master, an old man with tired eyes. "Easy, son," the man said, frowning. "What are you doing here? This isn't a scheduled stop." Ryan could barely form words. "To the train?" There was something on the train. The old man's face darkened. "Which train?" "The Midnight Express. London to Edinburgh." Ryan gasped. A long, heavy silence. The station master's expression shifted, his eyes filled with something Ryan couldn't quite place. Fear. "Son," he began slowly, voice barely above a whisper. "That train..." Ryan's stomach clenched. 10 years ago, that train derailed just outside Edinburgh. A chill shot down Ryan's spine. Every passenger in that compartment. The old man hesitated, then swallowed. "They all died." Ryan's blood ran ice cold. His knees nearly buckled beneath him. The station master exhaled shakily. "No one was supposed to be on that train." His voice was quiet, careful. Ryan turned, staring into the darkness where the train had vanished. The shadows seemed to shift. Somewhere in the distance, a whisper. "You weren't supposed to leave."